Okay, so this is the second video that I'm doing today. I felt it important to talk about the Sundance Film Festival and specifically the documentary done by Kirby Dick and Amy Zierling entitled The Invisible War. It came out on June 22nd in select theaters around the country. It's pending on Netflix, and they are permitting public viewings in certain regions around the United States to get the word out about MST. I was contacted back in July of 2009 as a male individual who was willing to come forward and talk about my experience with MST, military sexual trauma, in regards to a drill sergeant who had raped me on 4 separate occasions 20 years prior. The catalyst that brought me to do this was I was following an individual's blog, and I woke up one morning and saw that he had written about a junior ROTC instructor in Sarasota, Florida, being arrested for lewd and lascivious conduct against a minor and 2 counts of showing child pornography on a government-owned laptop to 2 additional minors. This individual turned out to be Demetrius Busby, who was my drill sergeant back in 1989. And I had a massive wave of guilt knowing that I could have prevented him in his cycle of abuse and his power trips had I been more assertive. So essentially things started with an individual by the name of Jay. He's from Florida. Many of you have followed his blog at one point or another. And I got Jay to agree to join myself and 2 of my other friends, one who is in politics locally, to go to Washington, D.C. and to lobby the politicians and talk about military sexual trauma far in advance of any of the other group's efforts. Tanner Barklow also works on The Invisible War. He drove to my home in Hazleton, Pennsylvania at the time and filmed me, and according to the paperwork that I have signed with Amy and Kirby's company, Chainlink Productions I think it is, I was filmed on July 9th, 2009 for almost 7 hours, and not an ounce of footage was used, not only from me, but from any other male that had been interviewed and filmed, other than the exception of Michael Matthews, who he and his wife are both very big advocates for military sexual trauma. That's all fine and good. They're both good people. Geri has a master's in social work, and she's helped many a veteran and done many interviews and has been a very intense and reliable part of bringing this to mainstream society. So to both of them I say thank you, and it's taken an incredible amount of fortitude for both of you to come forth and open up your lives, not only to soldiers individually and one-on-one and giving us advice and how to file claims and whatnot, but also into the invasion of your personal lives and having to relive all of this. So for that I say thank you. The problem I have is that, once again, everything that I've been seeing in media coverage is focusing exclusively on women. I don't know if they're doing it for the sympathy factor. I don't know if they're doing it because that's what the funders of the film decided that was the direction they wanted to go. We were never provided any kind of an explanation or who was being used or who wasn't. We had to wait like everybody else. A group was created by a woman by the name of Nancy Parrish. It was at the bequest of Congresswoman Jackie Speier from California, and she has been, if you put her name in YouTube, she has been on the House floor at 5 minutes at a time for, I think it's up to 26 or 27 sessions now, where she has talked very, very graphically about MST victims and the military's response to those victims when they came forward against their perpetrators. And she's also a huge advocate for this cause. My concern is this. There are many, many men who have suffered from this. Actually, according to the cover letter that was sent out by Protect Our Defenders, with the 4 women that were in Washington, D.C. going around to see the co-sponsors of H.R. 3435, which is also known as the STOP Act, they were taking letters around thanking the 123 co-sponsors thus far, with 200 veteran signatures, one of which was mine. I went through, and out of the 200 attached signatures via the letter from Protect Our Defenders, there were 4 Army, 3 Navy, 4 Air Force, and 2 Marines that were counted in the numbers of those 200 signatures. There is a vastly greater percentage of men who have suffered at the hands of abusers in the military by superior officers. And I wanted to focus on the men personally with testimony to Congress and with lobbying in Washington, D.C. and all of the other events that were going on. The class action lawsuit with Susan Burke, the filming of The Invisible War, and unfortunately, the men have once again been pushed to the side. And it's just as real for us as it is for the women. Now, I'm not trying to trivialize what the women have been through, as it's been identical to what we've been through. However, society needs to know that military sexual trauma goes hand in hand equally with male and female soldiers, and not put such an emphasis on the women. I realize women typically gain more compassion when it comes to that sort of thing, and I realize that not as many men are willing to, how can I put this nicely, step out in the public view and say this happened to me, but there are a handful of us that are willing to do that. And it's funny because every time somebody's asked for an interview, every time you know, there's a cliquish little gathering that's not been pre-announced, it turns out to be in benefit of the women. Like I said, I've been to the 2-month intensive inpatient therapy at the Veterans Administrative Medical Center in Topeka, Kansas, and I will be scanning that paperwork and uploading it so that all of you can get a better idea of what it is the VA is actually offering as a solution to our problems with PTSD and also with military sexual trauma. Simply put, it's not sufficient. They vastly need to expand their programs, and just based on the figures alone from what's quoted in this letter from Protect Our Defenders, they don't have the resources to provide for us, nor do most of the staff and higher echelon even know what MST stands for. There needs to be an informational campaign, be it writing editorials, be it holding presentations at your local VAs, whatever. But this needs to be brought to the American attention and the mainstream of men as well. Like I said, not to take away from the women, that's not what this is all about. This is about getting justice for all of us. It's liberty and justice for all. There's too many fragmented groups, and so long as those groups remain and they're not united, we're going to fail. Small occurrences are progressing, but not much.